Well, good morning. Corey Morgan is in the studio getting acclimated. We'll have our first commercial break, and we welcome your phone calls, your questions this morning, your legal questions. He will answer them for free. We'll be right back after these.
This is Jerry White at Riley White in Russellville.
And this is David Guine at Riley White.
I don't know what happens. Every year I plan to take more time to enjoy Christmas, and it seems that every year I'm busier.
I know the feeling, Jerry, and sometimes it seems we don't find the time to express our thanks to our customers for their business.
If we're ever that rushed, we're sorry, and we sincerely want you to know that we really do appreciate you as a customer.
It's such a great blessing to realize how our customers trust us and depend on us, and we never want to do anything that would betray that trust.
I'm glad that Christmas comes along and makes us concentrate on the things that are so important in our lives, our family, our friends, and our faith.
You know something, Jerry? Why don't we try to concentrate on these important things all year long and not wait until Christmas?
That's a good idea, David. We not only hope our good customers and friends have a very Merry Christmas, but a Happy New Year in which we all try to remember the principles of Christmas all year long.
At Young Funeral Home, we realize there's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all funeral. That's why we offer a full range of services and monuments, because everyone deserves a personalized service that reflects their final wishes. This is Wayne Reeves. If you have questions about pre-planning a funeral service, I invite you to visit Young Funeral Home. We will help you create the service you want without leaving the task to your grieving family. Young Funeral Home with chapels in Russellville and Auburn.
Corey Morgan's in the studio. Good morning, Corey. And we already have a caller. Good morning. This feedback. You're on the air with attorney Corey Morgan.
I won't say my name, but I'm a caregiver, and I've done caring for people over 30 years. And I was hired Sunday to work, and then Monday I went in, and I had not worked but about 30 minutes with the lady. And then I told her that I had a heart attack, and I've had a heart attack, and she was talking about her health, so I thought, well, I'll tell her I had a heart attack. And the other sitter there said, have you had a heart attack? And then I said, yeah. And she wouldn't know when it was. I said, well, it's been a long time ago. So she jumps up and calls the boss and tells her I had a heart attack. I don't know if it's her boss or not. She just jumps up, and then she come back in there and told me I was fired.
Because you had a heart attack many years ago?
I assumed that was, but that's all I told her. She just said real fast, have you had a heart attack? But before that, on Sunday, we had a big meeting. It lasted like an hour, and I was asking a lot of questions. And she said, what goes in this house and says in this house stays in this house. And that really set up a red flag for me.
Right.
But, you know, I just needed some work to get some Christmas presents for the kids. And I took the job, but she fired me. The way it was, she's the aunt, it was a patient, and then she had a niece far away from here, and this girl, she was a caretaker of all this. She hired and fired and done everything, and she even paid me. I didn't work. She paid me 3.5 hours, and it was on a money order. And that's the strange to me. Why didn't she just pay me check or something if she was dealing with all this? And, you know, I just owned the meeting was an hour, and she said, this meeting, you're going to get paid $6 for this meeting. And then we get paid $10, you know, an hour when we worked. So I got a check for $21, and that wasn't right because the meeting was supposed to be $6. And I might have stayed 30 minutes or an hour. No, it wasn't. It was probably 30 minutes or less. I stayed with that lady. And she fired me because I had a heart attack. I thought, well, if she didn't ask me no questions about my health or anything.
So you're wondering, I want the attorney to suggest whether somebody can be fired for that reason. Is that your question?
And not ask no questions or nothing. And I worked a long time after I, you know, had my heart attack. You know, that wasn't an option to nobody.
Right.
Because anybody can have a heart attack or anything.
Absolutely, and I understand that. I understand exactly where you're coming from, and that sounds like a place I would not want to work for. Number one, that doesn't sound like a very pleasant working environment at all. Now, I'll tell you a few general things. I'm not an employment lawyer, and sometimes it's best in that case to talk with an employment lawyer, because that you're getting a little bit specialized is what you are. I'm a general practitioner. That means I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, as the old saying goes. So I know a little bit about everything, and in some things that I do a lot of, I know a whole lot more about, but employment is not one of my strong suits. But with that having been said, the general rule in Kentucky is we're an employment at will state. That means you can quit. You can work anywhere and quit for no reason at all. You can just say, I don't feel like going to work today, and just quit. You don't have to do that. And at the same time, an employer can fire you at any time. You can be working somewhere. You work somewhere 30 years, and the employer go, I don't think I want you here anymore, and fire you. That's what employment at will is. Now, what you have to look to is the reason why you were fired, because sometimes, there are exceptions to that doctrine, and the exceptions include things such as discrimination. If they're discriminating you for a certain, everything's discriminate. Somebody could discriminate against somebody because they don't like the clothes they wear or whatever. When I'm talking about discrimination, I'm talking about discrimination for certain things such as race, religion, national origin, things of that nature. Now, as far as your health, I'm not aware of anything that would be a problem with them discriminating against you because of your health. They could very easily say, hey, this person's had a heart attack in the past. This person could could be a health risk. You're working with other people. I don't know. I think it's curious that she didn't ask anything further about your health. And just assume that you had a heart attack years ago. There are different types. There's some heart attacks that absolutely kill you, and some are very, very mild. And I've heard of people in their 20s having heart attacks. And they're mild, type heart attacks.
You can have anything.
Right, and so that tells me it very well may go beyond the fact that it was a heart attack. You're indicating a meeting and things of that nature. There might be it might be
it wasn't nothing said about my health.
Right, it might be a termination that is illegal. I don't know at this point. I can tell you from what you've presented on the radio here, it sounds like there's nothing that you could do, but I'm not really all that sure. What you're welcome to do is contact my office this afternoon. I've got court this morning after the radio show, but I'll be there this afternoon. I can refer you to somebody, to a firm, to try to talk to them and see maybe they can help you. Thank you. I appreciate you calling.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Christmas to you.
And if you have Merry Christmas to you, and if you have a question, a legal question here, Attorney Corey Morgan is here to answer your questions at no charge. And the local number, of course, 270-726-6100. Our long-distance toll-free wherever you are, 1-888-610-WRUS, and that's 1-888-610-9787. All right, Corey?
I was going to mention a couple of other things regarding this. This wasn't what she talked about, but whenever somebody out there is terminated, that doesn't mean, because you're fired from your job doesn't mean necessarily that you cannot receive unemployment. You very well might be able to receive unemployment. It's totally two different standards. Whether the employer has the right to fire you is a totally different standard than whether or not you have the right to draw unemployment. Now, the standard of drawing unemployment, if the employer can demonstrate that you either quit or you were terminated for misconduct, and it has to be some sort of misconduct. It sounds like the lady who just called a minute ago, sounds like she was doing her job and there was no misconduct there. And when an employer determines misconduct, if you're an employer and you're wanting to terminate somebody, you need to make sure that you have an employment file where the person's written up and told what the problem is, and told if in fact they do not correct whatever the deficiencies are in the person's work environment, if they're not told about that, then in fact they need to have it in writing. Once it's in writing, then after you've given a couple of warnings, then you can terminate somebody, and it's unlikely that person will be able to draw unemployment if, in fact, it was for misconduct. The person's unable, and just because you can't do your job is not necessarily misconduct. I remember I've represented a few people over the years on unemployment hearings where the employer challenges that the person, or saying that the person cannot get unemployment, and you have the right to a hearing on that. Do we have a call? I'm seeing a light over there. Well, I'll get back to this in a few minutes.
And Chris has got something we'll ask you. We'll get into that later, too.
Okay.
Good morning, Miss Feedback. You're on the air with Attorney Corey Morgan.
Yes, this is me again. I didn't get Mr. Morgan's number. Can I get that, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, 270-586-7777. That's 586-7777.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. You too.
And let's take another call. Good morning, Feedback. You're on the air with Attorney Morgan.
Yes, can you tell me why, when you go to vote, you don't have to declare your Social Security number, but they got it wrote down in the barcode. So every time any person in Kentucky votes, they're voting by Social Security number. Why is that?
That is a good question. I'm not sure the answer to that. If you're voting by Social Security number, Don, do you have any idea on this?
I sure don't.
Okay, I'm not really sure on that. The best thing to do, if it is a voting question, is each county has a county clerk. Sometimes they call them a county court clerk. And if you can contact like Logan County Clerk and ask them about, if it's in Logan County, if it's another county, call that county clerk and ask them about your voting and make sure that the voting is correct on there. But I'm sorry, I don't know much about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Probably are using it for identification purposes, but
right.
I'm still asking why they do that, because your tax man and you and the IRS are the only ones that are supposed to know your Social Security number.
All right.
Right. And I will say, and I know on other shows I've talked about Social Security numbers some, and Social Security numbers can be used by other organizations. In fact, are many times. Sometimes they require your Social Security number for various things, and there seems to be, over the years, there's been a lot. Let me back up. Every time there is a vote, there are a lot of dead people who vote. That's just every time, we have an election, there's dead people that vote, there's people that are felons that vote, in all of this, it's such a mess that, a lot of times they do try to keep track of things. And I myself am a very strong believer in having to have identification when you go in to vote. Some people don't do that, but I think it's important for you actually to be a living person and all that sort of thing to be able to vote. But I don't know exactly how they determine on what your Social Security number is.
Maybe one of the county clerks might be listening, or my office.
Absolutely,
give us a call. Yeah, anybody who knows, we welcome the calls.
Absolutely, and that goes to what I say to everybody out there. I believe to be the truth, but if it happens to not be, maybe I misspoke or something. Anybody's always welcome to call and say that's not right because of this. I've been known to eat crow before, and I'll do it again.
Put a little ketchup on it. It's not too bad.
No, it's not too bad. You put
a little ketchup, a little
put some
hot
A1.
Sauce helps. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and
flavors it up. So.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem. I'm not one of those people who are offended because sometimes people teach me stuff every day.
You don't care if somebody gets a second opinion, right?
I couldn't care less. But if somebody wants to call, you gotta something that you think, now of course back it up with facts and authority. Don't just give opinions, but
Appreciate
anyway,
your call.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for calling.
Thank you for calling. And as you point out, sometimes certain things will ask for the Social Security number. You don't have to give it, but sometimes if they won't do something because you don't give it, then there you are.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Chris popped up here, said, ask Corey to explain what it means to be an at-will employment state and how that works.
Yes, that's a very good question. An at-will employment state means that there are there are very few requirements for an employer or an employee. An employer can hire and fire who he or she sees fit, and same thing with an employee. Employee can work wherever he or she wants to work, and there's no, you can quit. You can't, like if I work somewhere for a little while, I'm like, I don't want to work here, I'm gonna go somewhere else, and I go somewhere else to work. I can't be sued because I'm leaving, and going someplace else.
What if you have signed a contract to work?
Now, that's a very good point. That would be an exception to the at will. If you have an employment contract, then the court will look at that employment contract. You in fact may be able to be sued if that's the case. And sometimes you have in there requirements to where somebody can't hold a same or similar position somewhere else for a period of time.
In broadcasting, often that'll be done. Maybe somebody gets another job, but they're required not to use their radio name or not to work for a certain period of time for another broadcast company or something.
And the general rule is the courts look to see whether or not that's reasonable. If it's reasonable in the scope of the time period and in the scope of the geographical area, then it would be okay and it would be upheld in court. But that's totally different than an at-will. If you have an employment contract, you go by the terms of whatever the contract is.
If I were to leave here and Chris and Bill, the other, all three, I guess we use the term stakeholders or whatever in the company, and suppose I left here and they didn't want me to use my name somewhere else, what would be a good name for me to come up with if I
my goodness, I don't know
down
what
the road? I thought of Chuck Roast or Rock Pile or some great names there. Right?
That sounds good to me.
Okay,
I think you would be I think whatever name you wanted to go by, people would listen. So that's
bless your heart. Thank you. Okay. Now, if you, we've already got it. John Eagle.
There you go.
One time, somebody thought it was my name, John Eagle, and Fred Green now still, hey, John Eagle. And I will tell you about the time when Congressman Carroll Hubbard, we used to do feedback in the afternoon, and he spoke to the Rotary Club and told them that he was going to be out that afternoon on his good and close friend Don Nagle's radio show. So somebody said, well, it's obvious the two of you are on a first-name basis.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Now, if you work for a company and you're a member of a union, I guess that unionized, that brings a whole different.
That brings a whole different element in if you're unionized, because what we're talking about getting back into contractual law again. The union has contract with the employer, so there are certain requirements about that. And what I'm talking about the at-will is that there's no contract when there's no contract between the employer and employee, but these other things kind of change the dynamic.
You can quit when you want to, and you can get fired.
Exactly.
Right. Good morning. You're on the air with Attorney Corey Morgan.
Hey, Don, I don't know what exactly the man was asking about the Social Security number to vote. Now, I don't know about some states, but when you work the polls, you can have a personal identification, personal acquaintance. You can do driver's license, and that does not have your social on it.
Yeah,
and then there's a credit card, I think.
Yeah, and without saying who you are, what background do you have to where you're answering this?
I work the polls.
Okay, so you work the polls.
Who it is.
Okay, so you know who it is. I'm just saying, so
you might ask somebody else to that would call in and verify what I'm saying, but
no, I believe
that's what our clerk always does.
Right. What I'm saying is just so he knows that you know what you're talking about.
Well, I'm not sure about other states or whatever, but I just know here in Logan County,
right.
I
I don't remember ever asking anyone asking for social here. Now, your driver's license, yes. If, you know, and if there's not that PA on the little slot that you color in, it means personal acquaintance, meaning you know them personally. And I believe credit cards on there because we've had discussions about that at different times at the meetings at the courthouse, at the county court clerk training, as to, you know, why should that be really allowed? A credit card.
It could be a credit card if somebody's dead, couldn't it?
That's right. That's a very controversial personal thing. You know, I wouldn't want to have to show my credit card. Really, for something like that. That would be a little more offensive to me than something else. But we've had people that offered their Social Security card in times past, but I don't know that we've not had any reason to use it.
Right.
And probably wouldn't anyway, because, you know, even at schools, if you don't want to give out your Social Security, you're excused from that. On some of those things, just different things. I mean, you know, I'm not sure exactly who does and who doesn't, you know. But anyway, maybe that'll help a little bit.
It does. Thank you so much for calling in.
You're welcome. Bye.
I remember, too, that when I voted last time, when I voted for governor, I just showed my driver's license, and which does not have my Social Security number on it. So I'm not really sure what the gentleman is referring to. I'm not doubting what he says, but I just don't know exactly where that Social Security number comes in.
Let me say that I totally admire poll workers because I have such a terrible memory for names. I'd make half Logan County mad when John Jones came up and I couldn't recall his name.
Right,
so,
right.
And you know, when I go in, I give my name. Whenever I see somebody I haven't seen for a while, I will give my name. They want to say, "Oh, well, I know you're fine," but I know how difficult it is to keep track of everybody.
I do that too.
So I reintroduce myself to people I haven't seen for a while.
I do too. I think people appreciate that. I
saw Jody Richards at SkyPack, and I said, "Don Neagle." "Oh, well, Don, but you know, I think it's a good thing to do. I wish more people would do that for me."
I know what you mean. People will come into my office that I hadn't represented in 5 or 6 years, and I've talked to literally thousands of people since the time I talked to them, and you know, I'm struggling. I'm going, who is this person? I know the face, I know them, I just can't place it, and I wish they'd just say, I'm so-and-so, and you represented me at such and such time. That helps tremendously.
Good morning. You're on the air with Attorney Corey Morgan.
Yes, for your information, when you talk to a policeman, your driver's license number is coded, and it will give them your Social Security number.
Oh, is that right?
Whether you want it to give to them or not.
Right.
Okay.
And the barcode is what holds your Social Security number when you vote. And that is automatically, when you cast that ballot, it automatically shows up somewhere else, and somebody else is being nosy and looking at your Social Security number.
Actually, I'd never.
To me, this can cause a whole lot of fraud.
I was not aware of that. I'd never heard of that before, but I appreciate your call, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you. We'll take a commercial break. We'll be back with Attorney Corey Morgan. The lines are now open. Call him up.
Get your holiday shopping started early with your Russellville Piggly Wiggly's pre-Christmas sale. Family pack assorted pork chops are $1.19 a pound, and USDA Select Black Canyon Angus beef bottom round roast is $2.99 a pound. Look for Washington Red or Golden Delicious apples or Granny Smith apples. Each are 99 cents a pound. Sunkist Navel oranges are now 3 for $1. Bluebonnet margarine 16-ounce quarters, 69 cents. Best Choice granulated sugar in the 4-pound bag, 2 for $3. And don't forget about the Kraft Buy 5, Save $5 sale. You'll find Kraft cheese select varieties starting at $1.49 after the savings. Jell-O gelatin or pudding 4-count cups, 99 cents after the savings. Kraft Philadelphia cream cheese 8 to 10-ounce tub varieties, $1.49 after the savings, and so much more. Savings galore is all over the store. It's at your friendly and convenient Piggly Wiggly in the Bethel Shopping Center, Russellville.
Unit 121 responding to a possible carbon monoxide poisoning.
Carbon monoxide is an odorless, colorless, tasteless gas that kills more than 500 Americans every year. It's produced when any fuel, such as natural gas, is burned, like in water heaters and gas furnaces. If you have a gas furnace, you need to have your heat exchanger checked every year to prevent harmful carbon monoxide leaks. Right now, you can get a furnace check and clean for just $55 from Knight Electric Heating and Cooling. Call 270-726-3818 to schedule your appointment today. Knight Electric provides reliable service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so you're never left out in the cold. When you call, be sure to ask about new prices on York package units and 14 Sear heat pump systems, which qualify for TVA rebates from their E-Score program. Remember, carbon monoxide can affect everyone, especially infants and children. Protect your family. Call Knight Electric Heating and Cooling today, 270-726-3818.
The holiday season is here, and so are the holiday savings at Freeland Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Russellville. Right now, Freeland is offering $750 in holiday bonus cash on select vehicles. That's $750 right now on select vehicles at Freeland. Check out the 2015 Ram 1500 Quad Cab. You'll get $4,250 in total rebates and pay just $37,276 on this make and model. To sweeten the deal, Freeland is also offering a once-in-a-lifetime holiday special on the 2015 Jeep Patriot Latitude. Get over $5,200 in total savings off sticker price and pay only $20,840 through December 17th. This holiday season, shop early for the best selection of your favorite Chryslers, Dodges, Jeeps, and Rams with a visit to Freeland, 1451 Bowling Green Road, Russellville. Call 725-4100 today or visit them online at freelandcdjr.com.
And Attorney Corey Morgan in the studio. Your calls are welcome now. The lines are open. You can talk directly with him immediately. What else is on your mind this morning, Corey?
Well, with respect to Social Security number, I probably should mention a couple other things on that. Sometimes people will get people's Social Security number and dates of birth. They call those personal identifiers, and the person can take those and steal somebody's identity. And then, get credit cards or do various things. It's important, for you to check your credit every so often to make sure, things like that don't happen. There is a free a free governmental site that gives you a free credit report from each of the 3 credit reporting agencies. And the website is www.annualcreditreport.com. That's annualcreditreport.com. You're not going to get a credit score. You got to pay for a credit score. But it will tell you what credit and who has actually run. Whenever somebody applies for credit for somewhere, it will be on your credit showing that person has that creditor has run the credit. Okay. So that way, make sure you do that. It's free. Do it at least once a year so you know who is running your credit.
Right. Good morning. This feedback. You're on the air with Attorney Corey Morgan.
Terry, I got a question.
Sure.
If you go a man's bail, and he is found guilty, or if he pleads guilty to a lesser crime,
yes, sir.
Do you get your bail back?
Yes. It's going to take a little bit of explanation here. Now, what bail is when somebody, and I know you know, sir, but I'm trying to just tell everybody here. Whenever somebody is picked up and put in jail, the judge has a reasonable time in which to set bail. Bail in Kentucky is required under our Kentucky Constitution. The judge is required to set bail in all offenses other than capital offenses, like capital murder, like death penalty type stuff.
Fear that the person might flee.
But that's when goes into the amount of the bail, not whether bail is set.
$2 million in or something.
Yeah, it may be $2 million, and that might be a reasonable bail if somebody is a high flight risk.
Right. Okay.
And if you want to get right down to it, somebody could be charged with murder, and if they're absolutely no flight risks, there's no risk to the community because this person, it probably was in self-defense, something like that, the person's bail may be really low, and that might be a reasonable bail in that case. Or I'll give another example, like over in Allen County, that horrible case where the I think it was a 6-year-old girl that was, raped and murdered, something like that, the bail would need to be through the roof. And in fact, that's a capital case, so you don't have to set bail in that. The judge does not required to do that, but everything else required to set bail. Bail is where you put up money saying that the defendant will not run and will not commit any further, I say further in the event he's guilty, further criminal matters. Like, in other words, you won't, if the requirement is you are supposed to be home 24 hours a day and the person's out, running the streets, you could lose your bail because they have violated the conditions of bail. But as long as the defendant goes through the case, shows up in court, does not violate the conditions of bail, whoever put the bail up in that person's name is to get the bail back. Now, if there are different types of bail in Kentucky. If it's something that's called a percentage bail, say the bail is $10,000, and you go to court and say, Judge, would you please give us percentage bail because, this person not a flight risk, et cetera, et cetera. The judge may set it and say, okay, I'll give you percentage bail, which means it's a 1,000. It's 10% of that. The curious, crazy thing is that if you put up $1,000 for the person, you actually only get 90% of your bail back because it's a percentage. But if it's a full cash bond that's put up, you get the full amount back at the end of the case, even if the person pleads guilty. Even, if the person's acquitted, it doesn't matter. The bail is put up not to guarantee any sort of innocence or anything. It's to guarantee the person gets there and doesn't violate the law.
But that applies only to the original charge. If you get other charges against him, messes
Correct.
up, then you can lose your...
Then you can lose it, right. And I've seen that. I had a case about a couple months ago over in Todd County. A person lost $5,000, because the defendant... committed a crime while on bail, so you lose it in that case there. But yes, sir, it is supposed to go back, and it does go back to whomever put up the bail. You do have a problem in some cases, like Simpson County over there. There's a judge over there who's a wonderful, wonderful judge, but she typically says defendant's name only. So if I'm putting up money for, say, John Doe, instead of being in Corey Morgan's name, it's actually in John Doe's name.
So John Doe gets the money back.
So John Doe actually gets the money back, and the reason why they do that is so they can take out fine and costs,
right,
and then give the balance back. That's the government's way of getting the money, and I understand why they do that. I'm not sure how.
I know a case
fair.
in Tennessee one time that happened. Somebody posted bond, and it had to be in that individual's name, and the money covered court costs,
right,
also and fine and the person did not, sizable amount of it never to get back.
Exactly. And if it is in the caller's name, the caller should get back every penny if it's a full cash bond.
But that's a discretion of the judge whose name it's in?
It is. I don't know if that's something, I don't know. I don't know whether
you might post bond for somebody, but you might think, well, I don't want them to have the option of having that money.
Right, exactly. But I don't know if it's really something that's legal to do. I know judges do it because there's not anything that says you can't do it. So, I don't know. I wish they wouldn't, because I think it's, it makes it less likely for people to get their money back.
Right, yeah.
So, anyway.
Or less likely to post bond start with.
Exactly.
All right. I know a case, or I think it's two cases in Logan County where the bail was for a child missing school was like $700 or $800.
Yes,
and
sir.
the fine was $250, but they wouldn't give the parents back any of the other money. How long do they have to get a lawyer to get the money back?
I'm not sure
They said they wouldn't give it back.
I'm not sure there's a particular statute limitation. I guess there's limitations on anything, but I would say that you'd be fine unless it was several years. But
It's been about 3. It's been about 3. Actually, the child was put in jail at 19 for not finishing school.
Right. We had a lot of that going on
for 45 days, and that's ridiculous. We got people that just can't finish school. You got to have all fairs at the sawmill.
You're right.
I don't understand that.
You're right. Sometimes you got too many chiefs, not enough Indians. I know what you mean.
Okay.
I know what you're saying.
Thank you for your information.
Thank you. And
thanks for calling.
And a couple more things on this, Don, before we take the next call. If there's an issue, a motion needs to be brought before the court saying, "Hey, I don't have my money back." It doesn't have to be through an attorney. Somebody.
It might not be financially feasible to hire an attorney to get.
Correct. I agree. A lot of attorneys charge more than that just to go to court on that. But it can be something that you just file something with the clerk saying, "Please give me a hearing because I don't understand why I didn't get my money back." And really. Being an attorney, I'm stuck. It costs me several hundreds of dollars a day just to have my office open. I mean, so I'm stuck on having to charge at least a certain amount of money to pay my bills, not to mention to eat and to have a halfway decent standard of living. So some of those cases, attorneys just not going to take. So you're going to have to do that yourself, and you need to write out something and file it with the clerk saying, "Please give me a hearing so I can tell you about this and try to get the money back."
Is bail bonding illegal in Kentucky now? Do you have bail bond? You don't have
it's been illegal for, I'm thinking, since the 70s, since they reorganized the court system. I'm thinking, I might be wrong, somebody certainly correct me if I'm wrong with that. Yeah, but the bail bonding is, in fact, illegal in Kentucky. If Dog the Bounty Hunter came, into Kentucky trying to do something, I mean, he would be arrested and put in jail because what he does, he would be. There'd be a lot of charges like false imprisonment and kidnapping and all kinds of stuff that he in fact would be charged with if he came in trying to take people.
And that reminds me of something. What about repo men? What rights do they have?
Whenever you borrow money, and that borrowing money might be from a buy here, pay here place. You're actually getting the vehicle or whatever. As long as there is a security interest in that vehicle, first lien holder on the certificate of title, if there is a default, that the creditor can repossess the vehicle. The law says that repossession must not be a breach of the peace. Generally, courts have interpreted that as it has to be done in a way that does not cause any sort of conflict or drama or have to have law enforcement. You can't have law enforcement helping with that. Otherwise, it might be a violation of that. And if it's a violation of that, they can't get any. They could be sued for one, and B, that's A, and then B, the deficiency balance they may be trying to get, which means the leftover amount you owe, they can't get. So they do have to follow the law whenever it comes to that.
We hear about coming at night and hooking up and hauling the car.
Yeah, that's why they do that. So there's no breach of the peace.
Legitimate, yeah.
Yeah, they can do that. There's nothing. I'm not aware of any sort of requirements that you have to be a repo man. I would say common sense says that if there is an employer, they want to vet that repo man to make sure that person's not a felon, that person's not known to assault people or to do anything that could cause that company problem. Because if they have this repo man going out and that repo man assaults somebody, that company's going to be liable for that. So you need to make sure whoever the repo is very professional and will not actually breach the peace, which would cause the employer to be damaged. Even if the employer, we got a call. Let me finish this one thought. Even if the employer hires somebody who's a repo man that is a contractor, that's a third party, if the employer knows or should know that repo man is a roughneck and might be doing things to harm things, and he or she hires that repo man and goes out and the repo man does something, the employer's still going to be liable. So make sure you vet those individuals and know what's going on.
Good morning. This is Feedback. You're on the air with attorney Corey Morgan.
This is Jim Lockhart.
Hello, Jim.
Hello.
I used to go out and repossess a lot of them. I had a record service in Florida and go out and get them. But the funny thing is, big truck stop down there where 75 starts and the turnpike. Them truckers would pull in there and get something to eat. And they Ford Motor Credit and all of them, they kept me in right there watching them trucks when they come in. Because most of them had liens on them up north somewhere, you know. They'd call me. They'd have keys to the trucks. I'd go up there and drive them off while they was in there eating.
You know, that is really smart. Yeah, that's if you're going to repo it, that's the way to do it, right there.
You don't want a trucker getting too mad at you. Right?
Absolutely.
Look, I tell you what, they would stand behind. You know, the company man would.
Oh, to guard the truck.
Because I didn't want to get killed going down that road driving them boys' truck.
Oh, I see what you mean. The company man protect you then.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, they would call the police and all of that and tell them, you know. But a lot of them trucks and things, they'd been looking for them for years.
Right.
They'd be out on that road. But once they got down there on that peninsula, they were there, boy.
You were on their trail.
Yeah. I was. They just called me.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, none of them could drive a truck. And I wasn't the best, but I'd get away from that.
Oh, you could at least move it, right?
Okay. And I'll tell you another state in South Carolina. I've run into this a lot up there. You can't repossess anything after dark.
Oh, really?
It's a sunshine law.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You have to do it in daylight.
All right. I'll let you
you get in trouble there, you know.
That keeps you from getting shot, though. I can see why they have that law. Somebody.
Right. I'm going to tell you a funny thing. Ford Motor Credit asked me one time to go to Dade City, Florida, and pick up this truck. This man had an orange grove over there, and I went over there that night, and he was out there working.
Oh my gosh!
And his oranges things, and I told him. I talked to him for a while, and then I told him what I'd come for. He said, "There it is." And I hooked to it with my wrecker and all. And I had to drop it off in Winter Garden, Florida, Bill Bardo Ford out there. It's in the middle of the night. That's where I left it. And I went to their office next morning, handed them the keys, told them I got it. They said, "You didn't have any trouble?" I said, "No, I didn't." Why? They said, "He broke the man's jaw out of Tampa."
Oh, wow.
You know, the company man.
Nice to know that the next day.
Right, exactly.
I said, "Y'all need to tell me that."
Nice to know that ahead of time.
Well, they said, "If you didn't have any trouble, you can go back tonight and get his car."
Did you do it?
Yeah, I did. I didn't have any trouble.
No.
Okay. But the way you talk to them.
Right, yeah.
You got to talk to them, right? But I run into a lot of things doing that, you know.
Right.
And most of mine was at night. But them truckers, that was all 24 hours a day.
Right.
I mean, they pull in those truck stops, taking showers or eating or something. Come out and their clothes and their truck be gone.
Would the guys from the company be packing heat to take care of you in case?
I don't know. I didn't ask them. I wouldn't. But that was their problem, man. They'd call the police and all, you know.
Okay.
Because you didn't want them. A truck driver report his truck stolen.
Sure.
Stop me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that'd be a problem, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I've run into that crap, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a rough way to make a living.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you. We'll be back with Corey Morgan right after these. You have a question or a comment? 270-726-6100 or long distance, toll free 1-888-610 WRUS. We'll be right back.
Choosing a funeral home requires enormous trust. This is Joey Young. At Young Funeral Home, we've been earning the trust of Logan Countyans since 1959. Because we are a family-owned funeral home, we understand the importance of treating you like family. We invite you to call us at your time of need or come in and discuss the benefits of pre-planning a funeral with our staff. We create personalized services that honor your loved one. Young Funeral Home with chapels in Russellville and Auburn.
This is Jerry White at Riley White in Russell.
And this is David Guine at Riley White.
I don't know what happens. Every year I plan to take more time to enjoy Christmas, and it seems that every year I'm busier.
I know the feeling, Jerry, and sometimes it seems we don't find the time to express our thanks to our customers for their business.
If we're ever that rushed, we're sorry, and we sincerely want you to know that we really do appreciate you as a customer.
It's such a great blessing to realize how our customers trust us and depend on us, and we never want to do anything that would betray that trust.
I'm glad that Christmas comes along and makes us concentrate on the things that are so important in our lives, our family, our friends, and our faith.
You know something, Jerry? Why don't we try to concentrate on these important things all year long and not wait until Christmas?
That's a good idea, David. We not only hope our good customers and friends have a very Merry Christmas, but a Happy New Year in which we all try to remember the principles of Christmas all year long.
And good morning, this is Feedback. You're on the air with attorney Corey Morgan.
That guy says he took a truck down there in Florida. I lived down there in Florida for 21 years, and I drive the truck for 13 years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
He says he took that truck off. He'd be in a penitentiary now. That's a federal cargo load and everything. The FBI'd come and get him for that.
Well,
that's right. That's the interstate cargo carrier.
So, in other words, the what was on the truck would be the factor there. Okay.
Not only that, he had to unload. I've seen that stuff happen in truck stops. What he's talking about, they got to unload that man's stuff out of his truck and everything. They got to notify the truck driver inside, take his stuff out, and disconnect that trailer. Because that cargo belongs to somebody else. That don't belong to his company. That's like $1 million load.
And you're saying that's federal law that would say that, correct? So what you're...
That's right. That's the interstate cargo.
I understand.
All right. Appreciate the perspective.
That ain't none of that silly hillbilly talk.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
That maybe the laws have been changed since Jim used to do that.
And I'll be the first one to admit I have no clue. I'm not a truck driver, so I don't know what the.
Right.
And I don't really. I do represent a lot of truck drivers in criminal court, but as far as it's not because of things like that. So I don't know what the law is.
Okay. Well, the lines are open now. What? Anything else on your mind?
Well, I was going to say one thing that Mr. Lockhart, who called in previous, did say that I think was very important. Is that it's how you talk to people. I think that's not just repo, and it's anything. You have to show people respect.
Right.
That old saying that you catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar. Right. I just want to tell people out there, if you're doing anything in the legal profession, TV and what's real life are two different things. TV, they will insult the judge or insult, do certain things. That doesn't work in real life. Whoever is overseeing your case, whoever is going to make the decision for your case, you want to be very respectful of that person. You need to be respectful anyway, but especially respectful of somebody who's making the decision of your case, whether it's a judge or a jury. You want to be respectful of the prosecutor, because the prosecutor is the one who makes the offer that may be where you go to jail for a while or you don't go to jail for a while. Yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am goes a very, very long way.
It's the same thing if you're stopped by a state trooper.
Correct.
Yes, sir, I'm sorry. Yeah. I guess I just didn't notice. I apologize. And keep your hands up on the on the steering wheel or somewhere where they know you're not reaching for a gun.
Absolutely. You want to be as respectful as possible, because a lot of times the prosecutor will ask the police officer what they want to do, and if the police officer can't remember that you're disrespectful, then they'll be fine with it. But if you were disrespectful, chances are they'll be like, "Oh, I want him to go to jail." Right. So I mean, it really works not only in the legal system but everything in life. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Yes, sir, no, sir. It's I can't emphasize enough how important that is. I've had, just by being polite and courteous to people, I've had a lot of things happen to help clients that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to do.
That's terrific. That's good. All right. Okay, what else is on your mind?
Now, getting back, I always got stuff to talk about. Getting back to the unemployment, I was talking about that and started talking about two callers. Whenever you have unemployment, now the employer is required to pay unemployment tax is what it is, and depending upon how much tax he or she has to pay, depends on how many people have received unemployment. If you've got people that are receiving unemployment, the rate will go up, which will cost the employer money.
Makes it look like that's something the employer's doing something wrong with
right, and the employer is having to pay more tax, employment tax, I should say unemployment tax, to the government. So what I'm saying is sometimes employers will dispute. The employer has a right to dispute whether somebody is going to be drawing unemployment. So if you're going to be drawing unemployment or requesting unemployment and the employer disputes it, don't fret. Don't say, oh, well, I guess I can't get it. The employer disputed it. So what if he or she disputes it? You have the right to appeal it. Even if the initial determination is that you do not receive the unemployment, you still want to appeal it. Now, the reason why I say that, I've had several hearings where the employer says, nope, we don't agree with this. The initial determination is no, unemployment's going to be paid. And then you have a hearing, and then they determine, well, there's no misconduct. It really wasn't like the employer said. So therefore, there's no misconduct. We're giving you unemployment, and you're back unemployment. So make sure that you fight. All they can say is no. Okay, in any of this stuff, if you have a problem with all they can say is no. It does not hurt to fight. You may fight and you may lose, but but it's better to fight and lose than it is not to fight at all. So make sure if you're one of the ones who have been been denied unemployment, and you believe, hey, I didn't quit and there was no misconduct there, then you need to challenge that, whether or not you have an attorney. Because all you got to do is write a letter and say, this is what happened, they're wrong.
You don't have to hire a lawyer.
You don't have to hire a lawyer for it. A lawyer helps. Lawyers nearly always help. Some things, there are a few things, 10% of things that...
I guess it would depend upon the amount of money involved.
Correct. It depends on the amount of money. Most of the time, there's a lawyer that might be able to help you out. Nothing else, contact Legal Aid in Bowling Green. Google Legal Aid in Bowling Green and contact them, see if they'll help you. I don't know if they will or they won't. I'm just saying, you can try to see. But at the very least, write a letter for the appeal, and you'll have a hearing, and who is hearing the appeal would be a hearing officer, and the hearing officer would be asking you questions, asking the employer questions, and make a determination. I think we got a call.
Good morning. Feedback, you're on the air with Corey Morgan.
Corey, you're talking about the Kentucky Labor Relations Board.
Am I?
Yeah. If you've got a problem, a lot of times, I know a couple that have contacted them, and they didn't have to get a lawyer, and they didn't have to do any of it. The Labor Relations Board down and determined whether it was right.
I think that's a very good idea. I think the lady who called earlier needs to contact them.
Kentucky.
Yeah,
exactly. It'd be Frankfort, Kentucky Department of Labor Relations Board.
I'm sure she could Google that, and it would give her the number to call. I think that's a brilliant idea, sir. I think that's what she needs to do. Absolutely. Okay. I agree. And I appreciate that. Anytime somebody has a suggestion, that's a very good idea. And getting back to the unemployment, I would try the unemployment too, in addition to contacting the labor board.
All right. We got about a minute and a half. Anything else you want to lay on us this morning?
I'm trying to think of what I can say that's not going to take this not going to take a while. I was going to get into, because we talked about privileges last time. I was going to talk about some of the other privileges that we have, and I'm going to mention them very briefly. While if I can get to it before we run out of time.
And you can, and of course, you'll be here your regular scheduled date next month,
yes,
right?
Yes, this is not a normal day.
And this was because I messed up. It's not because you messed up, because I messed up.
It's usually because I mess up.
I scheduled somebody else, and forgetting when the month comes in on a Tuesday, it threw my mind out of whack. Okay, got a minute. Lay something up with that.
We've got a husband and wife privilege. There are certainly exceptions to that, like if the husband's beating up with the wife and all that. They can't claim a privilege, or if it deals with the child. child, you can't claim a privilege, but sometimes you got a privilege where you can force your spouse not to be able to testify in court.
Okay.
There is a religious privilege. Sometimes you can, if it's a confidential communication with a clergyman, and it defines it as a minister, priest, rabbi, accredited Christian Science practitioner, or similar person with a religious organization, you can claim the privilege and not let them say what you had said. There's a counselor-client privilege.
Right.
There is a psychotherapist-patient privilege, and there's also a privilege for the government for an identity of an informer. Sometimes there are people who work for the government, help the government, and they don't want to disclose that person. And there's a lot of